What's up, guys? It's David coming at you from Organic Price Books with another. This is a David deep dive of Once and Future, as you can see here, the Slipcase edition. Before we get started, as always, guys, if you want to be eligible to win a $25 gift card, all you got to do is subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and tell me how fresh do I look. Ooh, look, new haircut. Look at this. They trimmed up the beard too. David said, treat yourself, and I did. I look good, don't I? Anyway, we also have a Whatnot coming up next Friday, so we're going to have a video of that as well. Awesome. Okay, so we recently got Once and Future, the Slipcase edition, into Organic Price Books. So I actually had already read it, and I just needed to do a deep dive, so this is the perfect opportunity to do it. Let's take a look. So this is the front. Sorry about the fingerprints. It's a matte black, so anytime I touched it, I'm like, ugh, David, stop eating greasy food. The spine and the back of the slipcase. Oh, look, I also got new glasses, guys. Look at this. I called it, it was like smoke. I'm like, yeah. I don't smoke, but my glasses do. Oh, because they are fire. Ooh, all right. Here's my little. All right, the front. The spine. And the back.
And so the difference is for the slipcase and the deluxe edition is for the slipcase you just get the slipcase, deluxe edition you can just get the book by itself. So those are the only differences.
Yeah, all right. So let's go ahead and take a look into the book. I really enjoyed the story. I read a lot, so this story is has literary elements. I said it correctly. Literary elements that the story is based off on, so that was really cool. Okay, so it starts off with this. Somebody finds a scabbard. Turns out it's a scabbard for Excalibur. This guy gets killed because people are trying to get it. Now you start off meeting Bridget. This is basically the, like the old badass who can do everything. Yeah, that's basically her. So she has a grandson. His name is Duncan. He's on a date with Rose. They're the three main characters of the story. So just remember that. So he's very academic, but he plays rugby, so he's kind of sporty academic. His grandma calls him. He's like, I need your help. He's like, oh, she got out of the home. She's in a an old people's home, and he takes her wherever she needs to go. Has a huge stash of weapons. He's like, Grandma, what are you doing, Grandma? Why do you have guns? And she says, oh, because of this thing behind you. What is it? Oh, giant freaking monster. I don't know what it's called. It says what it's called, but I don't remember what it is. Anyway, head of a snake, lion, and then it has like a sack full of like screaming faces. So she's like, you have to fight it. He's like, what the heck's going on? She's like, you have to show that you're not afraid. So he like fights it off. It runs away, and then she's like, I'm not your normal grandma. I don't just knit and make cookies. No, I'm a total badass who likes to kill monsters and kick some butt. And she kicks butt. And she's like, we have to stop something because something big is coming. And he's like, what is it? And he's like, oh, I can't tell you right now. You just have to trust me. So she goes, and she saw basically at the beginning that the scabbard was stolen. She heard about it in the news, and she's like, I gotta go. I know what's coming. We meet this lady, and basically she's the one who kills it. Turns out that they are trying to bring back King Arthur so that they can cleanse the land of anybody who's not of, English blood. So they resurrect him, and he's like, oh, let's see who's really English. So all these guys who are with her, they're like, yeah, we're going to resurrect him. But he basically tastes them, and if their blood is not full, like 100% pure English blood, then wham! Flash! They get cut! You got cut. Quick. Step. So he kills basically everybody except for the girl. She was the only one who was like a pure blood. So he resurrects them and uses them as his knights. The grandma, Bridget and Duncan are there, and they're like, we gotta stop him. And he's like, how do we stop him? So he uses the weapons that she gave him, the grandma, pew, 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 shooting him. But it's really not effective against these guys. So she uses a grenade, I believe, or C4, yeah. She uses C4, blows it up. So basically, to get where King Arthur is, you have to go to this thing called Otherworld, which is portals to like a magical world, as you can see. Usually whenever you see colors like that, that means that they're in the other world. So just keep that in your head. They leave and then they're like, we need somebody's help who knows about all this literature stuff. So they call Rose and they're gonna use her to help out, and she does help them out. So here, look, for example, they're going, and then she's like, okay, they resurrect the king, but he's not fully back. So the scabbard like heals him, but to be fully resurrected, he needs the Holy Grail to resurrect his body completely. So to get the Holy Grail, you need to be like pure. And they're like, well, I know where she's going. The grandma's like, I know where she's going. We need to go and stop her. So she goes. I put this green for my green ones are for monsters. The blue ones are for like cool events, cool drawings that I liked. As you can see here, he's like almost fully resurrected, but you can see like he's still like a skeleton. But this is really cool. I like this a lot. Anyway, so he's like, she's like, I have the perfect guy or the holy knight to be able to get the Holy Grail. So the King Arthur can't go. He has to send a knight. So he's like, I'm gonna go. His name is Camelot. And if you know anything about the King Arthur story, Camelot was also a knight of the Round Table. I believe he was like the perfect knight I think he replaced Arthur. I don't remember too much of it. It was a long time ago. So she's like, he's the perfect knight. He's gonna be able to do the quests, and then they go, and then Duncan is over there trying to stop them. The grandma's about to shoot because if they kill Camelot, then he can't get the Holy Grail. Mission over. Cool. We beat the game. We skipped levels. But Duncan's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. She stops them. They find out. They chase them. So this is how like they looks like getting out of the other world. Otherworld. That's what it's called. And so they get out. She's like, we have to find a way to stop him. And she's like, how did you get a Holy Grail? There's no way. She thought they stopped her because, she goes to speak to her old husband, which is his grandpa. And he basically, they come in there to attack him. This guy goes to the other world. And the grandpa's like, I don't know. They kind of like fight each other. They were married. So he's like, I'm the only way you can get to the other world without me. There's no way to get there. So the other guy already went. The blonde guy, Camelot. So he kills himself. Boom. So he can't get out of the way. And they're like, oh no. But the grandma's like, oh, well, technically I count as, I believe, there was a certain way. Like that person had to be like a teacher kind of thing. So like a father figure, basically. So she was like, well, she raised Duncan by herself. So I'm like your mother and your father. So I qualify, and the person has to die, basically has to die. So she shoots herself so that it opens up the portal for him to go. And he's like, don't die yet. I know how to save you. So he goes. As you can see here, Camelot is getting the Holy Grail right there, as you can see. And this is the Holy Grail that they need to bring back Arthur. He has to bring it back. Duncan is like, no, I'm going to stop you. And as you can see, they fight here. And he's like, I'm a better knight than you. And he's like, yeah, well, you know what? I played rugby, and I'm going to run. Whew, and he ran away with it. He brings it back to his mom, or to Bridget, his grandma. But it didn't work. I don't remember why it didn't work. So he's like, the only other way to heal you is to get the scabbard, which can heal any wound. I put this on here, but she's like, you have to trade it basically for King Arthur. The only thing he wants more than the scabbard is the Excalibur sword. So he goes to the lady in the water and he gets the Excalibur. So that's really cool. I like that. I put blue because it was cool. So they go, and he's carrying his grandma. She's dying. He's like, I need to trade it. And he fights these guys, and he talks to him, and he's like, hey, I have Excalibur. You want to go ahead and trade? And basically they do the trade. She puts it on, and then it heals her. And while they're there, you find out that basically this lady, the girl that basically resurrected Arthur, is actually Duncan's mom and her daughter. And then this guy is basically his half brother. and she was gonna use him to resurrect Arthur, but the grandma stopped her, so that's why she raised him. So then she had to have another kid basically to be able to resurrect the king. So they run away. They're like, "Oh no, we gotta get out of here now that you have the scabbard." And so they're running away. She's like, "Come on, daughter, come with me." And she's like, "Nah, I hate you, Mom. Why did you put a bedtime for me? I hate you." And she runs away. So they leave. They're like, "Okay, well," he throws back Excalibur. He got the sword back. And he's, like, they kind of switched it, and then they switched back. He throws the sword back, and he's like, "Well, now you know that's over." And she's like, "Well, now that you know about magic and about monsters, they're actually going to come at you, like, you know, because you know about it. And that knowledge is power." So basically they start attacking him, but he now is like prepared for it, so he kills the snake thing, whatever. So that kind of ends that part of the story. And then it starts off the next part with basically the girl talking to Merlin. So this is Merlin, of course. As you can see, he's pretty dark, you know, very, very metal. Anyway, so she's like, we need to try to get the Holy Grail, because the king is like, he looks like he's dying almost. So then this guy says, "I need to get more power," basically. So he's like, "You gotta stand here, and then you're gonna get more power." And he's like, "Oh great, I'll do it. Yes, awesome. I'll free power up." But then like it turns out that it like transforms him, so like he's turning into a different monster. So Duncan is over there with his mom. They are just fighting basically monsters, and then Rose is basically their like medium, who she can use her like knowledge. Like she kind of magic, so she like throws pins and it tells her where there's gonna be a monster, and he goes and fights it basically, right? So he goes, there's one in the museum, they go over there, and then this guy shows up. So basically Galet turns into this guy, and he's like transforming, but he's like stronger now, and he has a horse. So he's like, "I'm gonna kill you because you stopped me from getting the Holy Grail." And basically it was all a ruse to grab this book, and he's about to kill Duncan, as you can see there, when the grandma's like, "Hey, why don't you come after me? I'm the one who stopped you." So then he goes after her, but then she put a trap, and he cuts him. Legs cut off, the horse cut off. No. So then she's like, "I'm gonna kill you because you ugly." He's like, "No, please," and he basically disappears. So they're like, "What's going on?" Then turns out that she, the daughter, stepmom, I'm gonna call her stepmom, even though this is real mom. To get basically the Holy Grail, they have to. So how they do it is they resurrect stories. So of course King Arthur is part of a story. Here, she basically resurrects Beowulf. And if you know the story of Beowulf, he's a warrior king, kind of like King Arthur, and he also had to fight monsters. So they resurrect him, and they're going to use him to kill them, and then possibly get the Grail. So they're all like chilling, like, what's going on? And this is Camelot in the other world, as you see there. So this is the guy with his legs cut off. "Oh no!" He's like, "I need more power," and she's like, "Okay, well, King Arthur's talking to him, or whatever." Beowulf comes in and attacks him, and they're about to like fight each other, which is actually really cool because he's like on fire. Merlin stopped them, and he's like, "Stop! You guys are both kings. You need to work together to complete your goals of getting the Holy Grail." And then Beowulf and them talk, and he's like, "Okay, let's do it. But first we have to kill our adversaries, which are Duncan and his grandma." So the stepdaughter's looking at them like, trying to keep track to see where to tell Beowulf where to go. And while they're driving, Beowulf attacks their car and rips the freaking hood off of it, which is so cool. And he's like, "I'm gonna stop you." So how do you kill Beowulf? I mean, like, what can you do? They throw him off the car. He's about to like kill them all, and then Duncan's like, "I'm gonna fight him," and then she's like, "You have no chance. He's Beowulf. He's like a master fighter." And as you can see there, yeah, he basically stood no chance. He was about to get his arm ripped off when she sets a trap for him, and he stops the claymore. He's like, "Ha ha, I got it." But Duncan shoots it, and it blows him up, so he's dead. Now, if you know anything about the story of Beowulf, he fought. Do you remember? Do you remember who he fought? Well, you're gonna find out, because he fought Grendel. So now that Beowulf is dead, Grendel is, since he's part of the story, he kind of like comes out of the other world as well. So with Beowulf dead, nobody's able to kill him since Beowulf killed Grendel. So they're like, oh no, we have to stop him. And Grendel goes after the grandma. And so Duncan's like, I gotta go save her. He steals a car. He goes over there to save her. Grendel is like killing the old people, which sucks, or the guards for the home. And she's telling, the bridge is telling all the people, hide. You gotta hide. You gotta pretend that you're not seeing anything. You're just hiding in your room. Because the more people know, it basically gives them more power. So they have to make sure that the least amount of people make contact or see this thing. So, of course, she's fighting him. There's like boiling water on him or oil. And she's waiting for Duncan to get there. Duncan does arrive, or the police arrive first. So the whole thing is of course secrecy. Like you said, the more people know, the more danger it is, because the more people know, they give power to this magic, right? So they have to make sure that they, try to keep it as least amount of contact as possible. And she tells him that at the beginning. You have to make sure you don't call the police. Well, he's on his way there, and he's like, who am I going to call? And he just says, I need to call the police. At least it'll slow him down, and blah, blah, blah. So he calls them, and then look, if you remember if you ever watched Hot Fuzz with this guy from Shaun of the Dead, Simon Pegg. There we go. Simon Pegg, basically he makes a cameo of it. He shows up like he did in the movie, and he's like, we're going to take care of it. And basically he gets bitten in half. Oh no, poor guy. So she's like, Duncan, don't call the police, because they bring more people involved. More people know, the stronger the monster gets. So as you can see, Grendel is still fighting Duncan. They're over there. They're basically fighting. She stabs him, and then Duncan basically drives the car into them. And then he starts fighting him, and like this guy, like the character design on Grendel is really cool. I like how the teeth go out like that. It reminds me a lot of Spawn. Anyway, he's about to be killed. Grandma shows up with a chainsaw and cuts his arm off, which is actually how Beowulf killed Grendel. He cuts his arm off and he bleeds to death away in the forest. So he runs away. She's like, we completed that part of the story, so that part is over. The police show up, and then she's telling everybody, hey, a bear attacked this. You can't say anything about magic. You didn't see anything. Erase it from your minds. The less you basically acknowledge it, the best chance for us. She's screaming at Duncan for calling the police. And then while they're doing that, the old people are like, oh, well, we know what we saw, and it was Grendel. And, if you follow the story, you should also remember Grendel has a mother. And then because she wasn't very knowledgeable, she's like, what do you mean? And then it's like, push this guy. And Grendel's mom basically shows up because she said, you killed my boy. Join him. So, basically, Grendel's mom shows her, put there, green, another one for monster. So she's like this snake thing. And she's attacking the old people as well. So it kind of continues the story, like in the story, because Beowulf basically fights Grendel, and then he fights Grendel's mother. So, it's killing all the police officers, and it's hunting for the grandma. So then Duncan is like, well, I have to go save her. And they fight each other. She jumps in the water. He jumps in there with her. And he's about to die. As you can see right here in the water, like it's attacking him, and she's about to kill him. When he does something, I think he like calls out to the lady in the water, which is I guess any place of water, and they give him Excalibur again. So he's able to use that to cut off Grendel's mother's head, and he comes out. He looks like a total badass over here. And so the stepmom is over there, like she's like, hey. You need to help me get the grail, and he doesn't want to do it. So, him and Rose, of course, are getting it. They're getting it. Okay. So let's keep going. So that was kind of a little thing. Here's the king. He's kind of like weakening because, he hasn't gotten the grail. He's kind of just waiting for everything. Guy. Here you kind of get what I guess so. Obviously, the government knows about this, but they try to keep it hush hush. Again, less people know, less power this thing has. So this is just him. Basically, you see that Merlin's manipulating the people in the government as well. Okay, let's see. Keep going. So they're still kind of fighting crime, fighting monsters, as you can see there. He keeps fighting monsters. Their relationship is a little bit strained. Anyway, so I guess Merlin called the lady called another knight, which is the Green Knight, which is also part of the story of King Arthur. He's part of that story, I believe. So then the Green Knight is there. He is challenging the guys at the bar because that's his thing. Rose challenges him and manages to kill him. So he's like, I'm gonna see you in a year, and then it's gonna be my turn to fight. So like the whole thing of the Green Knight is you get a turn to hit me, and then I get a turn to hit you. So she hit him and killed him technically. So he's like, okay, cool. I'm gonna come next year, and it'll be my turn to hit you. So that's where it stops, or that's he just kind of disappears. That was kind of short and like, I guess it sets up things for future references, but here it kind of just felt kind of thrown in. So they're trying to find out where the people at this bar are, like the white supremacists that were helping the girl at the beginning to resurrect King Arthur, to drive out the invaders, basically. So they're like, we have to find a way how to where she's at to stop her. So that's why they did that. Rose is doing her magic stuff, but then basically the mom shows up there to kill her. And she's basically trying to talk to her about the whole situation. Duncan goes back to see what happened, how this whole thing started with the mom and everything. They find out that she basically is trying. What was her main goal? Obviously to bring back Arthur. I don't. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I don't remember why she did that specifically. But this just kind of shows her just talking about her daughter and how she, how everything changed. So then they basically do the same thing that she did, and it brings back Lancelot. I put it in blue because this was cool. I like the design for Lancelot a lot. And Lancelot. Okay, so the characters in these stories they act like they're characters, but they're not like, they don't know everything that's going on. For example, Lancelot talks about Guinevere, and Arthur doesn't know about Merlin at the time, but we know about Merlin, and Merlin knows about himself being Merlin. So it's kind of like the characters know who they are, but they don't know all their history like we would know. So that was really interesting as well. Anyway, basically Merlin, you find out that she basically threw herself in boiling water, which in the story, that's how Lancelot saves Guinevere, I believe, to basically, and that's how they kind of fall in love. So she did that to get with Lancelot so that she can have the baby, which was Galad. And so basically that's how they found out about that. And then she tells him, hey, this girl that you think is Guinevere is actually somebody else. And he's like, what? So he gets mad. And so it's kind of like they're finding out, the characters know who they are, but then they find out more information from like the grandma and Duncan. And then you see here the king is still kind of like decomposing. He needs the grail because, he's fading away basically. So then Lancelot is chasing them. I don't remember for what reason. And they come up on, in the other world, and they come upon a dragon. I put a green here because of the dragon, which is cool. So this part is, I like the story. This part is where it kind of got a little bit confusing. I understand what they were trying to do, but it just felt rushed a little bit. So that's just my opinion on it. Let's see. So basically, they're fighting they fight the dragon, or they use the dragon to kind of cause a distraction between them. And as you can see, the dragon is chasing after them as well. So they're like, let's just kill two birds with one stone. And they fight each other. And you can see here kind of what happened between them whenever she came out, and they, got together. And then you see Galad again. This is his final form. You don't even know my final form. So remember, he got his leg chopped up. So then Arthur and Merlin used their magic to make him into like a centaur basically. And then he's like rotting at the same time. So that's pretty gnarly. and she's like, that's where she's in the other world with Galet, and she basically tells Lancelot, "Hey, he's your son. These guys are about to kill him." He stopped them. So then they're like, "Oh no!" The dragon shows up again. Lancelot and him fight. This is a really cool scene. I liked it. Let's take a look. So they are like, "Oh well, we have to go stop him from getting the grail." So then they go back into the other world somehow. See, that's where it got a little bit lost. So even, I mean, I was reading and I was like, "What? How did this happen? How did they go back?" So it's a little bit, like I said, feel rushed down here. So they get Rose to help them to create a doorway to go back to the other world. As you can see here. Let's see. The dragon, I guess, has the sword of Lancelot in him, so she goes in there. She takes off the sword, so then the dragon is friendly to her, and they use that to fly. So now, okay, so yeah, Galet is finally is able to get the Holy Grail. He has to take it back to King Arthur, so he's riding with it, as you see there. So they're trying to stop him. They have a dragon now. They're riding the dragon, which is cool, and the Merlin is looking at them. He's like, no. So they're running around. He's trying to stop the dragon. They're trying to stop him. He basically drops the bowl. And so basically that's over. They're like, yeah, we stopped them. They leave. They're like, okay, we managed to stop him from getting the grail again. So that should be the end of it. But then, as you see here, King Arthur's like, oh, I'm going to die. And he's like, wait, my other plan hasn't gone through yet. So then we're back at this like ministry of something for the government, which has to keep it hush hush. But basically he's been influenced by Merlin. And he basically goes out and announces to the world that there is basically magic. And as soon as he does that, since it's a televised event, basically, boom, he gets the magic back. And then King Arthur manages to drink the Holy Grail. And as you can see here, he comes back full force. So that was the danger about the magic being known by everybody. It creates power for the other world. So he comes back into where that guy was, and he basically, during the interview, and he kills him. He basically cuts his head off, as you can see there, and he has like magical powers to try to shoot him. He turns them into maggots. And then Granny's like, no, this is what I tried to stop. And she's like, they're like, what do we do now? And he's like, well, we're going to have to survive. So as you can see here, magic now has basically bled through into the real world. So now there's monsters all over. This thing is enormous. Look. So look, this thing is in the mountain and it's wrapped around the mountain. So that thing must be huge. So there's magic and it says to be continued. So this is only, I'm guessing, part 1. So let's look at some of the extras real quick. The gallery, I know we did the gallery last time, but this is a cool sword. I like a lot of this. The artwork on this is amazing. I really, really, really enjoyed that. The attention to detail to the characters is present throughout the entire book, the entire run. The character designs on these are really cool. I like how they are. It's a very dark and metal design for each of them. For Arthur, for Merlin, for Beowulf. It's really dark. I feel it's really powerful for them. And it definitely sets them apart from Duncan and Bridget, who are just like humans, you know. So like, for example, here you see them. They're just humans, and in the back, like the dragons, King Arthur. It's the design. The character design is really cool. I like that a lot. I also really like the colors, the use of colors in this book. To me, that was, I would say, my favorite part of it. As you can see here, the designs are like that. So let me just go back. Like the colors on it when they're in the other world, and it's bright. It bleeds through to the page. As you look in the background, for example, you see here it goes from black to the green, and it's really cool. My favorite, or whenever like there's pink, I just think that looks really good. So I like this. It just looks really cool, and it definitely defines when they're in the other world and when they're in the human world, and it adds that element to the colors. For example, the green and the purple looks really good on that. So I really enjoyed that as well. Like I said, the story started off really good. They give you a lot of information on Duncan and Bridget, and it sets up a good foundation for it. After you meet Arthur and all that, and it starts getting more into like the Green Knight and Lancelot, that's where it starts to get a little muddled, in my opinion. Like I said, you were like, oh, how did they get there? How did they do that? So I feel like for example, this was a lot of world building, which was good. This was still part of the story, so that was cool. But like the last, I want to say from here, wherever you first meet Lancelot, it just rushed. Like, so basically, this was this whole rush with the dragon, with Lancelot, with Galad. So I feel like this was really rushed, and this was a lot of world building. And in my opinion, I just felt they could have fleshed that out a little bit more. But I understand for the sake of the story why they did that. And it's setting it up so that, now that the magic is bleeding into the real world, then it sets up the next conflict for them. But overall, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the story. It reminded me, like, whenever they were talking about the Green Knight and then Lancelot, I'm like, you know what? I have to pause. I went to Wikipedia and I read the story of King Arthur. And I'm like, oh, I remember that. Same thing for Beowulf. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that, and I had to go look. So that was really cool. Like, I enjoyed having to go and read about, stories and literature and different stories. So now I'm excited for the second part because I'm like, what other books are they going to bring? They brought in Lancelot, Green Knight, Beowulf, Grendel, dragons, as you can see, King Arthur, Merlin. So I want to see what else they're going to bring in. I thought that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. I would say this is the story itself. I would give maybe a 4 out of 5, like a 3.5 out of 3.5 Davids out of 5. The artwork is top notch. Seriously, guys, it's impressive to look at. I would give that easily a 5 out of 5. The book design is so cool. They really took the time to develop like how it looks like in the background. How you have the matte black and then the shiny black. The design for the slipcase is so cool. I really enjoyed that as well. The pages are thick. You feel like you're reading a nice thick book. Like, you don't feel flimsy. Like, look here. That's a nice thick page. So yeah, it was a pleasure reading this. I really enjoyed it. I'm kind of excited for the second one just because I want to continue the story. So that's always good. Like, some stories are just like, but this one is like, okay, cool. It was a little rush at the end, but it set it up for the next chapter, which is going to be exciting for me. I'm going to definitely keep an eye out for that. So there you go, guys. This is David's deep dive into Once and Future. Highly recommend it. Get yours. So we have the Slipcase edition. We have the non-Slipcase edition and organic press books. And I'll see you guys in the next one.